It was the spring of 2002, and life in our modest suburban home in upstate New York felt like a postcard from the American dream. 2 kids. A golden retriever named Max. A white picket fence we'd painted ourselves the previous summer. My wife, Laura, and I had been married for 8 years, and while the spark had dimmed a bit under the weight of raising 2 little humans, Sophie, our 6-year-old with her wild curls, and Ethan, our 4-year-old tornado, we were still a team. Or so I thought. I worked long hours as a project manager for a construction firm, and Laura had a part-time gig at a local boutique, which gave her flexibility with the kids. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable, stable, happy, even if you squinted past the exhaustion. The first crack in that illusion came on a Tuesday evening in April. I'd gotten home late from a site inspection, my boots still caked with mud, and found Sophie sprawled on the living room floor, coloring a picture of a horse. "Hey, kiddo," I said, ruffling her hair. "How was your day?" She didn't look up from her crayons. "Good. Grandma gave us cookies, and Grandpa let us watch The Lion King again." I froze mid-step toward the kitchen. Laura's parents lived in a sleepy little town called Haverford, a good hour and a half south of us. It wasn't unheard of for the kids to visit, maybe once a month for a weekend. But again, "When were you at Grandma's?" I asked, keeping my tone light. Sophie shrugged. "Today, and yesterday. Mommy says we're helpers." Ethan piped up from the couch, where he was gnawing on a toy truck. "Yeah, we stayed all day." I forced a smile and headed into the kitchen, where Laura was stirring something that smelled like spaghetti sauce. "Hey," I said, leaning against the counter. "The kids said they were at your folks' place today. And yesterday." She didn't turn around, just kept stirring. "Oh yeah, Mom needed some help with spring cleaning. I figured it'd be good for the kids to spend time with them." Her voice was casual, but there was a tightness to it, a little hitch I'd learned to recognize over the years. Laura was a terrible liar, always had been. Back when we were dating, she tried to surprise me with a birthday cake and ended up confessing the whole plan because she couldn't stop giggling nervously. It was one of the things I'd loved about her. Now it made my stomach twist. "Spring cleaning, huh?" I said, crossing my arms. 2 days in a row? That's a hell of a haul for dusting some shelves. She finally glanced at me, her hazel eyes flickering with something. Annoyance, maybe, or guilt. "What's with the 3rd degree, Mike? It's not a big deal." I let it drop, but the seed was planted. Over the next few weeks, I started paying attention. The kids kept mentioning trips to Haverford 2, sometimes 3 times a week. Laura's boutique job was only 3 days a week, and she'd always said she spent her off days running errands or taking the kids to the park. So why the sudden pilgrimage to her parents' place? And why did she clam up every time I asked about it? Suspicion is a slow poison. It started as a nagging itch, then grew into a full-blown obsession. I'd lie awake at night, listening to her soft breathing beside me, wondering what she was hiding. Was she in trouble? Gambling? Drugs? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, and I needed proof. That's when I started checking the mileage on her beat-up Toyota Corolla. Every morning before I left for work, I jot down the odometer reading in a little notebook I kept in my truck. By the end of the week, the numbers didn't lie. She was clocking an extra 450 miles. Haverford was 90 miles each way, so a round trip was 180. 3 trips a week? That's 540 miles. Even accounting for some wiggle room, she was driving way more than she should have been for spring cleaning. I confronted her again, this time with the numbers in hand. "Laura, what the hell's going on? The car's got 450 extra miles on it this week. You're not just popping down to your mom's for cookies." She went pale, then red. "Are you seriously spying on me? What's wrong with you?" "I'm not spying. I'm asking. The kids keep talking about Haverford. The mileage doesn't add up, and you're dodging me like I'm the IRS. Just tell me the truth." "I told you," she snapped, slamming a dish into the sink. "I'm helping my parents. Maybe I ran some errands down there too." "Jesus, Mike, get a grip." But I couldn't. Not anymore. The real bombshell came a month later, on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Laura had taken the kids to, where else? Haverford, and I was home alone, nursing a beer and trying to fix the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. I gave up after an hour and wandered into the den, where our clunky old Dell desktop hummed quietly. Laura had been on it that morning, checking her email, and in her rush to leave, she'd left a sticky note stuck to the monitor. Sunflower 123, her OL password. She'd always been careless with stuff like that, trusting me implicitly. Part of me wanted to walk away to respect her privacy. But the bigger part, the part that couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't stop imagining worst-case scenarios, won out. I logged in. Her inbox was a mess of spam and forwarded chain emails, but buried in the clutter were a half-dozen messages from her college best friend, Jen. The subject lines were innocuous: "Hey girl, checking in." But the contents hit me like a freight train. Laura wasn't just venting about motherhood or swapping recipes. She was spilling her guts about an affair with a guy named TJ, her high school boyfriend. He still got that grin, you know? Makes me feel 17 again. We grab lunch at this little diner off Route 9, then head to the Bluebird Motel. It's kinda trashy, But that's part of the fun. His wife's gotten so frumpy since the kids. Guess I don't feel too bad stealing him for a few hours. I sat there, staring at the screen, my beer going warm in my hand. My wife, the woman who'd cried in my arms when Ethan was born, who'd laughed with me over burnt Thanksgiving turkey, was screwing some guy in a cheap motel while our kids ate cookies with her parents. And she was laughing about his wife. I felt sick, then angry, then numb. I printed every email, every damning word, and stashed them in a locked drawer in my toolbox. Evidence. I'd need it, but I still didn't know enough. Who was TJ? Where did he live? How long had this been going on? I needed details, and I wasn't about to ask Laura. Not yet. So I called my buddy Dave, a cop I'd known since high school. Over beers at his place, I laid it all out. He didn't judge, just listened, then scribbled a number on a napkin. Call Ron Decker. Used to be on the force, now he's a PI. Guy's a bloodhound. He'll get you what you need. Ron was a grizzled ex-cop in his 50s, with a gravelly voice and a handshake that could crush walnuts. I met him at a diner in town, handed over the emails and a $1,500 retainer, half my savings, and told him everything. I want to know who he is, where they go, what they do. All of it. 2 weeks later, Ron delivered. His report was a masterpiece. 20 pages of typed notes, timestamps, license plate numbers, and grainy photos snapped with a telephoto lens. Laura's routine was clockwork. Drop the kids at her parents' by 10 a.m., meet TJ at a diner called Rosie's by 11, then off to the Bluebird Motel, a Fleabag joint with peeling paint and a neon sign missing half its letters, for 3 hours. She'd pick up the kids by 5 and be home by 7, kissing me on the cheek like nothing had happened. The photos were the worst. Laura laughing in TJ's truck, her hand on his arm, the two of them slipping into room 12, curtains drawn tight. Ron even got shots of TJ, tall, broad-shouldered, with a cocky smirk I wanted to wipe off his face. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat in my truck outside Ron's office, staring at the folder, and decided it was over. My parents' marriage had imploded over cheating. My dad's affairs, my mom's revenge flings, and I'd spent my teenage years shuttling between their bitter, broken homes. I'd sworn I'd never let my kids go through that. Divorce wasn't just an option. It was a necessity. I hired a lawyer the next day, a shark named Ellen Shapiro who'd handled a coworker's divorce and left his ex with nothing but the clothes on her back. Ellen didn't mess around. New York's no fault now, she said, tapping her pen on her desk. Infidelity won't sway the settlement much, but it'll light a fire under her ass. You want custody? Joint, I said. The kids need her, even if I can't stand her. While Ellen drafted the papers, I had Ron dig deeper into TJ. His full name was Thomas James Callahan, 34, married to a woman named Carrie, with 3 kids under 10. He was a VP of sales at Callahan & Sons, a mid-sized HVAC company owned by Carrie's dad, Bill Callahan. They lived in a McMansion 20 miles from Haverford, paid for by Bill and deeded in Carrie's name. TJ was living large on his father-in-law's dime, and I saw an opportunity. Ron, I said over the phone, I want you to do one more thing. Get me a meeting with Carrie Callahan. She deserves to know what her husband's up to. Ron hesitated. You sure? That's pouring gas on a fire. I'm sure. She's collateral damage, not the target. She needs the truth. On the day Laura was served divorce papers, at the boutique in front of her coworkers, I had Ron deliver a copy of his report to Carrie at her house. He told me later she'd been polite but shaken, clutching the folder like it was a live grenade. I didn't know what she'd do with it, but I figured she'd earned the right to decide. She decided fast. Within a week, TJ's life was ashes. Carrie drained their joint accounts, over $80,000, and took the kids to her parents' lake house. Bill Callahan fired TJ on the spot, citing moral turpitude in the company handbook, and since the house was in Carrie's name, TJ was out on the street. Their divorce was a circus. Restraining orders, screaming matches in the driveway, even a fistfight when TJ showed up drunk and Carrie's brother, a linebacker-sized guy named Pete, broke his nose. TJ racked up a DUI, a trespassing charge, and 6 months in county jail after violating the restraining order one too many times. Last I heard, he'd slunk off to Ohio working odd jobs and dodging child support. Carrie, meanwhile, thrived. She took a job at her dad's company, learned the ropes, and stepped into Bill's shoes when he retired in 2015. She remarried a quiet accountant type in 2018, and her kids, now teenagers, seem well-adjusted, at least from what I've seen on her public Facebook posts. My divorce was quieter but no less brutal. Laura fought me on everything. Alimony, the house, even the damn dog. But Ellen outmaneuvered her at every turn. We sold the house, split the proceeds, and settled on joint custody. Laura moved into a condo near her parents, and I got a small place closer to work. The kids bounced between us, and I made a point never to badmouth their mom, no matter how much I wanted to. They didn't need my baggage. It's March 12th, 2025 now, and the wounds have scarred over. Sophie's 29, a graphic designer in Brooklyn. Ethan's 27, teaching high school math in Rochester. They're good kids, better than I deserve, maybe, Laura and I don't talk unless it's about them, and even then, it's clipped and civil. I don't hate her anymore. She's just a ghost from a life I used to live, tethered to me only by the two people we made together. As for me, I remarried in 2010, a woman named Rachel, a nurse with a wicked sense of humor and no tolerance for bullshit. We've got a quiet life, a cabin upstate, and a rescue mutt named Daisy. I don't think about Laura much or TJ or the Bluebird Motel, but every now and then, when the kids mention their mom, I feel that old twinge. Not anger, just a faint echo of the man I was before I burned it all down and started over.